The Great Pyramid of Egypt. Enigmatic, austere, anonymous. Mainstream Egyptologists like Zahi Hawass will tell you it's just a tomb, but others believe that it was some kind of ancient electrical generator. I asked an advanced AI to explain Christopher Dunn's Giza power plant theory, and what I learned has changed the way I see the pyramids. This is the Giza power plant explained.
And today, we're looking at something truly monumental. The Great Pyramid of Giza. An enduring mystery.
Absolutely. One of the biggest.
For, well, millennia, the story's been pretty consistent. It's a tomb. King Khufu's final resting place, built, what, 4,500 years ago?
That's the standard date, yeah. Textbook answer.
What if that's just not right? Or at least not the whole story. What if it wasn't a tomb? What if it was a machine?
And that's the big, really audacious question we're diving into today, Christopher Dunn's Giza power plant theory.
Right.
It pulls together engineering, a bit of chemistry, ancient mysteries. I mean, based on the sources you sent over, it paints a picture of something far more advanced than just, a burial mound.
So our mission today is to really extract the core ideas from these theories. Look at the evidence done and others present.
And importantly, look at the criticisms too. What does mainstream Egyptology say?
Exactly. We want to help you understand what this, well, pretty groundbreaking theory suggests about the past, maybe even about energy today. Okay.
Let's do it. Where do we start?
Let's start with the tomb idea itself. Because when you really look closely, it starts to feel a bit shaky.
How so?
Well, think about other Egyptian tombs we know. Like in the Valley of the Kings. They're just packed, aren't they?
Absolutely. Full of artifacts, treasures, incredible wall paintings, hieroglyphs telling stories.
Right. The Great Pyramid. Inside, it's bare. Strikingly so. No artifacts found originally.
No hieroglyphs covering the main chambers, no art.
And that big granite box in the king's chamber. The sarcophagus.
Yeah.
Zero evidence it ever actually held a mummy. None.
And it's not just that one. No mummy has ever been definitively found inside any pyramid.
Which is kind of strange for structures supposedly built only as tombs, isn't it?
It does make you pause. And then there's the construction itself, the sheer precision.
Oh, this part is mind-blowing.
It really is. If you just look at the specs, it almost screams a different kind of purpose. Something beyond burial.
Talk about the alignment.
Okay, so it's aligned to true north. To within, get this, 115th of a single degree.
Wow. 1/15th.
Yeah. I mean, modern engineers today would struggle to get that accurate without, lasers and GPS.
And the base. It's huge, over 755 feet on a side.
And it's level across that entire area to within just 3/4 of an inch.
That's almost perfectly flat.
Incredible tolerance. And the lengths of the sides themselves, they match each other to within about 2 inches. That's 99.98% accuracy.
It's just hard to comprehend how they achieved that. And it's not even just 4 sides, is it?
No, that's another weird thing. It actually have 8 sides. Each main face is slightly concave, indented down the middle.
You can barely see it, right? Only from the air or during specific lighting.
Exactly. Like during the equinoxes, the shadows reveal it. Why add that complexity, that extra level of difficulty?
And the math encoded in it.
Right, the mathematical connections. Now, okay, skeptics will say this is coincidence, maybe forcing the numbers.
Sure.
But look, take the pyramid's original height, multiply it by 43,200. The result is incredibly close to the Earth's polar radius, like 99.7% accurate.
Okay.
Now, take the base perimeter, multiply by that same number, 43,200. You get something that's 99.3% accurate to the Earth's circumference at the equator.
That number again, 43,200. What's the significance?
Well, that number also happens to be the number of seconds in 12 hours. Half a day, or, the seconds of daylight or darkness during an equinox.
A fundamental cycle of the Earth.
Exactly. For that specific number to appear linked so precisely to the pyramid's dimensions and key Earth measurements, it just suggests this incredibly sophisticated understanding, way beyond what we usually credit them with.
So astounding precision, weird mathematical connections, and then there are the materials they used.
Yes, this is crucial to the power plant theory. It's not just how they built it, but what they built it with.
The outer casing stones, the ones that made it gleam white, mostly gone now, sadly.
Those were Tura limestone, bright white. But importantly, they had to bring it from nearly 500 miles away.
500 miles. Why go so far?
Well, this specific limestone lacks magnesium. That makes it a fantastic electrical insulator.
An insulator. Okay.
Yeah.
And inside.
Inside, particularly the king's and queen's chambers, they used rose granite. Again, hauled hundreds of miles.
And what's special about that granite?
It has a very high quartz content, silicon dioxide, by 85% in some samples.
Quartz. That rings a bell. Piezoelectricity.
Bingo, that's the key concept here. When you put quartz under pressure or even just vibrate it strongly.
It generates an electrical charge.
Exactly. So if the granite in these chambers with all that quartz was subjected to enough pressure or vibration, potentially huge amounts of electricity could be generated.
Turning the pyramid into, well, a giant electrical component.
That's the idea. The deliberate choice of these specific materials brought from so far away with these specific electrical properties, it really makes you question the simple tomb explanation. Why bother if it's just a burial place?
Which leads us right into Christopher Dunn's theory. He first proposed this back in the 70s, right? But really detailed it in his 1998 book, The Giza Power Plant.
Correct. He describes it not just as a power plant, but as an electron harvester, a source of clean, seemingly pollution-free energy.
So how would it have worked, according to Dunn?
Well, the core idea is that the pyramid is a kind of geomechanical device. It's coupled harmonically with the Earth itself.
Coupled with the Earth.
It starts deep down, apparently, in the subterranean chamber beneath the pyramid. The theory is that underground water, aquifers moving below the pyramid, generate sound waves, low-frequency vibrations. These would resonate with the Earth's natural hum, its own vibrations. And the pyramid's location is supposedly key, too. Dunn argues it's near the center of the Earth's landmass, perfectly positioned to tap into and amplify this terrestrial energy.
So it draws energy from the Earth's vibrations. Then what? How does it become usable power?
That's where the internal chambers come in. The Queen's chamber seems to be step one in generating fuel.
Fuel.
Hydrogen gas. There are these two shafts leading into the Queen's chamber. The northern one has traces of hydrochloric acid, the southern one traces of hydrated zinc chloride.
Chemicals. Inside the pyramid.
That's the claim. Mix those two, and you get a pretty volatile reaction that produces a lot of hydrogen.
Is there any evidence for this chemical reaction?
Well, proponents point to a few things. There's reports of white mortar-like stuff oozing from joints near there. Ancient texts sometimes mention a foul odor around the pyramid. And there are significant salt incrustations, like half an inch thick in places, in the passage leading from the Queen's chamber.
Salt. How does that fit?
The theory attributes the salt to the hydrogen gas reacting with the limestone as it moved through. And interestingly, those shafts were found sealed.
Sealed.
Yeah, suggesting they weren't for ventilation, but maybe to precisely control a slow feed of these chemicals into the chamber.
Okay, so the Queen's chamber makes hydrogen. Where does it go next?
Up towards the Grand Gallery, that huge sloped corridor.
Also made of granite.
Also granite. High quartz content. As hydrogen gas supposedly filled this space, the pressure would build. This pressure compresses the granite.
Piezoelectricity again.
Right. Generating electricity and also ionizing the hydrogen gas, making it more conductive. But the Grand Gallery had another function, Dunn believes.
Which was?
Acoustics. Resonance. He suggests it housed maybe 27 or 28 pairs of resonators along the walls. Devices designed to vibrate and emit sound when excited?
Like tuning forks.
Something like that, yeah. Acoustic engineers have studied the gallery's dimensions and materials. They found it resonates strongly at 440 hertz.
A specific frequency.
Yes, and it naturally seems to amplify an F-sharp chord. So these resonators, stimulated perhaps by the Earth's vibrations coming up from below, would fill the gallery with powerful sound waves.
And that sound would vibrate the granite even more.
Creating even more piezoelectric energy. It's a feedback loop, amplifying the energy.
Okay, so we have hydrogen gas and amplified sound energy moving up from the Grand Gallery. Where to?
Towards the King's chamber, through a small shaft or passage first. This opening is apparently about 8.4 by 4.8 inches. Dunn notes this is kind of the perfect size for hydrogen microwaves to pass through.
Hydrogen microwaves. We're getting into some physics here.
We are. The King's chamber is seen as the main event, the amplifier and generator. It also resonates at 440 hertz and F-sharp, acting like a Helmholtz resonator.
Like blowing across a bobble top.
Exactly that principle. It's designed to powerfully amplify that specific frequency.
So describe this maser system Dunn talks about. Microwave amplification.
Through stimulated emission radiation. Yeah, think of it like a laser, but for microwaves. It creates a focused, powerful beam.
How does it work here?
Okay, so the vibrations from the Earth, channeled upwards, are turned into sound by the Grand Gallery resonators.
Right.
That sound energy, plus the hydrogen gas flowing up, plus potentially a microwave signal coming in through the King's Chamber's northern shaft. All of this hits the massive granite beams of the King's Chamber.
Making them vibrate intensely?
Very intensely. And the piezoelectric effect converts that intense vibration, that sound energy, into high-frequency radio waves, or microwaves.
Where does the initial microwave signal come from?
Dunn proposes it comes from outer space, specifically atomic hydrogen emissions, which are naturally occurring microwaves. He suggests the northern shaft of the King's Chamber acted as a waveguide.
Like an antenna.
Exactly. Perfectly sized, he argues, to capture and channel microwaves at hydrogen's specific wavelength, about 8.3 inches. He even suggests the shaft might have been lined with gold-plated iron to make it more efficient, though tests on an iron plate found there didn't show gold.
So you have incoming natural microwaves, amplified sound, hydrogen gas. It all interacts in the King's Chamber.
And the process exponentially amplifies the energy. This amplified microwave energy is then directed out, supposedly through the southern shaft of the King's Chamber.
Out to where?
Where some kind of device, maybe a horn antenna, would have captured it and made it usable power. Wirelessly transmitted, perhaps?
And those chambers above the King's Chamber, the ones usually called relieving chambers.
Dunn says they're not just for relieving weight. Look at their rough-cut tops. He thinks they were deliberately left unfinished so stonemasons could tune them.
Tune them. Like instruments.
Precisely. Tune them to also resonate with that same F-sharp chord, adding to the overall vibration and energy of the system.
So putting it all together, the location, the precision, the materials, the internal chambers, the shafts. Dunn's theory sees the entire pyramid as one enormous, sophisticated machine.
Designed to draw energy from the Earth, amplify it using hydrogen and acoustics, and beam it out as microwave power. It's quite a concept.
It really is. Which brings us to a huge question. If this was such an advanced machine, who could have built it? And how? The conventional story involves, copper chisels and ramps.
Exactly. That level of precision we talked about seems, well, difficult, to say the least, with just those tools. This is where Dunn's broader theory comes in. He argues the builders, whoever they were, must have used advanced machine tools.
Not just hand tools.
No. He points to those incredibly fine tolerances, like 0.01 or 0.02 inches in some places. He believes that's beyond manual labor. He actually cites Flinders Petrie, one of the fathers of Egyptology. Petrie, back in the late 1800s, meticulously documented tool marks on various artifacts and stones. Marks that, to Dunn, suggest things like high-speed sawing, precision milling, even lathes.
Lathes.
For stone.
Yes, capable of cutting complex curves into hard stones like diorite and granite without chipping them. Petrie also found evidence of tube drills creating holes up to 18 inches in diameter. Dunn even proposes maybe ultrasonic machining was used, using high-frequency vibrations to cut. Ultrasonic machining, that sounds very modern.
It does. And Dunn also brings up that iron plate found in a King's Chamber shaft back in the 1830s.
Right, the one you mentioned earlier.
He uses that as a hint that maybe they knew about ironworking far earlier than mainstream history accepts.
Okay, but what do the critics say about this machine tools idea?
Well, this is where it gets tricky. While engineers might look at Dunn's analysis of tool marks and say, yes, that looks like machining, the sources are very clear. There is absolutely zero physical evidence of such machines ever being found.
No machine parts, no blueprints, nothing.
Nothing. The pyramids stand, the tool marks are there, but the tools themselves vanished, if they ever existed. So critics say it's speculation based on interpreting marks, not on finding actual advanced tools.
So if we entertain the idea that it wasn't built by Egyptians with copper chisels around 4,500 years ago, then who? Or when? This blows the timeline wide open.
It really does, and this leads to some even more radical theories about a much older origin, possibly a lost civilization predating the Egyptians as we know them.
Like Graham Hancock's ideas.
Exactly. Hancock points to astronomical alignments. He argues the Giza complex, the three pyramids, perfectly mirrors the three stars of Orion's belt.
Okay.
And the Sphinx gazes due east toward the constellation Leo at the point it rises on the horizon during the spring equinox. But the key is when these alignments were perfect.
Not 4,500 years ago.
No. According to Hancock's calculations, these alignments match the sky as it looked around 10,500 BC. That's 12,500 years ago, or even 13,500, depending on the source interpretation. Much, much older.
Wow. And isn't there geological evidence pointing to an older date, too? For the Sphinx, at least.
Yes, this is Robert Schoch's work. He's a geologist from Boston University. He looked at the erosion patterns on the body of the Sphinx and the walls of the enclosure around it. He concluded they show classic signs of precipitation-based water erosion, heavy rainfall basically, washing over the rock for a very long time.
But Giza is desert now. Has been for thousands of years.
Precisely. It's been hyper-arid since the time of the pharaohs. So Schoch argues this heavy rainfall erosion must have happened before that, when the climate was much wetter, possibly way back around the end of the last ice age, maybe lynching to that 13,500 year or even earlier time frame, like 9,700 BC, Younger Dryas period end.
When glaciers were melting rapidly, causing huge climate shifts and maybe massive rainfall or floods.
That's the idea. So if Schoch and Hancock are right, it leads to this mind-bending possibility.
That the ancient Egyptians didn't build the pyramids and Sphinx.
Or at least not the core structures. Maybe they found them, inherited them thousands of years later from a much earlier lost civilization, found them perhaps damaged or dormant.
And then they repair them, adapted them, maybe carved the Sphinx's head into a pharaoh's likeness.
Ashutis, believing them to be monuments of the gods perhaps, and using them for their own ceremonies. It completely reframes Egyptian history if true.
Okay, so if we follow this path, ancient machine, maybe built by a lost civilization.
Yeah.
What happened to it? If it was a power plant, why did it stop working? The sources mentioned damage.
Yes, significant damage, suggesting something catastrophic happened. Not just erosion, but violence.
What kind of evidence?
Well, remember those chemicals. Hydrochloric acid and zinc chloride for hydrogen. The sources also mention traces of sulfuric acid in the southern shaft and ammonium chloride in the northern one.
Oh.
If you mix ammonium chloride and sulfuric acid, you get a very powerful explosion.
An explosion inside the pyramid.
That's one possibility suggested by the physical damage. There are scorch marks on the ceiling of the Grand Gallery right above where Dunn places those resonators.
Scorch marks.
Cracks in the huge granite beams in the king's chamber. Its walls seem to have been pushed outwards, bulged by over an inch in places. The massive granite step leading into the king's chamber shows heavy damage too, and other parts show charring.
It sounds like something blew up internally.
It certainly looks like a possibility. And remember, the salt deposits in the southern shaft, found coated an inch thick when it was first explored, consistent maybe with hydrogen violently boiling or reacting and surging up the shaft.
So what could have triggered such an event? An accident? Sabotage?
Dunn himself leans towards an external cataclysm, maybe an asteroid impact nearby, causing a massive seismic shock that overloaded the system.
But didn't you say the Egyptians kept good records? No mention of a giant asteroid?
That's the counterargument. No record of such a cataclysm during pharaonic times. If the event happened much earlier, say around 9700 BC, as some theories propose,
then it wouldn't be in their records.
Right. Another theory floated is a massive solar event around that time. A huge plasma storm from the sun hitting Earth, overwhelming the magnetosphere.
Causing what?
Massive electrical discharges. Planet-wide lightning strikes far beyond anything we see today. Widespread vitrification rock, literally melted into glass, is found in some ancient sites, possibly indicating extreme heat events like that. Could something like that have overloaded the pyramid power plant?
It's a lot to consider. A planetary scale event shutting down an ancient power source. And this is where the connection to Nikola Tesla comes in, right?
Yeah.
Feels almost too similar to ignore.
The parallels are really striking, aren't they? Tesla was obsessed with harnessing the Earth's energy, believed you could transmit power wirelessly around the globe.
His Wardenclyffe Tower project.
Exactly. Think about its design. Built over an aquifer, had deep iron rods, copper conductors going down into the water.
Wait, similar to the pyramid's location over aquifers and those recent finds of copper pipes and iron rods near Giza?
Very similar structure, seemingly trying to interface with the Earth and groundwater. Tesla envisioned sending energy into the tower, using the Earth as a conductor and transmitting it wirelessly through the atmosphere.
And the capstone.
He planned a metal cap, possibly gold, to draw energy to the top and help broadcast it. Just like the theorized gold capstone or pyramidion of the Great Pyramid, it's almost like he was trying to recreate the same principles.
But Wardenclyffe was never finished. It failed. Why?
Well, the sources we looked at present a specific narrative. that it was effectively shut down by powerful interests. JP Morgan was his main backer.
The financier.
Right. Morgan funded Tesla initially for wireless communication radio. But when Tesla made it clear his main goal was free, wireless power for everyone.
Morgan pulled the plug.
That's the claim. Morgan had vast investments in the existing energy infrastructure, copper mines for wires, coal mines, power plants, distribution networks through GE and AT&T.
Free, unlimited wireless energy would have made all that obsolete overnight.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
So the narrative is that Morgan withdrew funding, blacklisted Tesla, and the dream of free energy died. Tesla ended up broke and discredited.
What's the relevance of Tesla's story to the Giza theory, then?
It raises a really uncomfortable question. The sources point out that even today, 84% of our energy comes from fossil fuels. Because, well, it's profitable, it's great for business.
Implying clean, possibly free energy isn't.
The implication is that maybe the technology for cheap, clean energy, whether from Tesla or maybe even understood in deep antiquity, gets suppressed because it disrupts established economic powers.
And it makes you wonder, if Dunn's theory has been out there for 50 years, why hasn't anyone tried to build a small-scale model, test the principles?
That's the lingering question the sources pose. Is it just too fringe? Or are there other reasons why tapping into this kind of energy isn't being pursued? Does history repeat itself?
Of course, we have to acknowledge this entire Giza power plant concept, the ancient machining, the lost civilization. It faces huge criticism from the mainstream.
Oh, absolutely. It's fair to say it's considered fringe by most academic Egyptologists and archaeologists.
What are the main counter-arguments?
Well, fundamentally, mainstream Egyptology is firm. The Great Pyramid was built by the ancient Egyptians, specifically for Pharaoh Khufu around 4500 BC. They see the precision not as evidence of lost tech, but as a testament to incredible Egyptian organization, skill, and manpower, perhaps using clever surveying and building techniques we don't fully grasp, but still achievable with known tools.
And the lack of a mummy or artifacts.
They generally attribute that to ancient tomb robbing, which was rampant. Or they argue the pyramids were perhaps more symbolic monuments, the actual burials sometimes placed elsewhere for security, like later in the Valley of the Kings.
What about the power plant idea specifically?
Figures like Zahi Hawass, a very prominent Egyptologist, have stated clearly that there's simply no scientific, linguistic, or archaeological evidence to support it, no text describing it, no physical remains of energy components.
And the machine tool marks Dunn points to.
Critics argue those marks can be explained by known ancient techniques, perhaps used very skillfully, without needing hypothetical advanced machines. They emphasize, again, where are the machines? No fragments, no workshops. Without that physical proof, it remains speculation based on interpretation.
So you've heard the different sides now. The traditional view of the pyramid as a tomb.
Then this radical alternative, a highly sophisticated energy device built with potentially lost technology by a civilization maybe much older than we think.
And those fascinating, maybe troubling parallels with Nikola Tesla and the fate of his wireless energy ideas.
We've seen how the pyramid's precision, its materials, its internal structure could lend support to Dunn's power plant model. And we've touched on the astronomical and geological clues suggesting history might be much older and more complex.
It really shows, doesn't it, how much we still don't truly know, or perhaps agree on, about one of the most famous structures on Earth.
There are still huge mysteries locked inside that stone.
So here's something to think about. If it is even remotely scientifically plausible that the Great Pyramid was a machine for creating clean, maybe even unlimited energy, and if history, like with Tesla, suggests that powerful interests can suppress such revolutionary technology, what might that imply about the energy solutions we have?